Some books illuminate the mind with new ideas, and others awaken something ancient within us, something we have always possessed, yet rarely mastered. The power of concentration belongs to the second category. It is not a book about productivity or time management. It is a journey into the hidden abilities of the human mind, the deep mental strength that lies dormant beneath distraction, noise, and emotional turbulence. In today's episode, we explore a timeless guide written by Theron Q. Dumont, a guide that teaches how concentration can shape character, sharpen intelligence, strengthen willpower, and ultimately transform one's life from the inside outward. This is a book that doesn't simply explain concentration, it trains it through stories, lessons, and practical mental exercises. So find a quiet moment, breathe. Let us enter the world where focus becomes power. Theron Q. Dumont opens the power of concentration with a bold claim. The greatest individuals in history, leaders, thinkers, inventors, and creators were not born extraordinary. Their power came from one central skill, the ability to concentrate fully on a single purpose, a single task, a single vision. Dumont describes concentration as a mental spotlight, capable of cutting through confusion and illuminating the path of achievement. Without it, the mind scatters. With it, the mind becomes unstoppable. He begins by explaining that concentration is not an innate gift. It is a skill, one that can be built, strengthened, and mastered through training. Dumont describes the untrained mind as a restless horse, constantly running in every direction, pulled by emotions, impulses, and external distractions. But with concentration, the mind becomes disciplined, obedient, and powerful. The author gives vivid examples of people who failed not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked the ability to hold their thoughts steady long enough to finish what they started. Dumont emphasizes that the first step toward mastering concentration is understanding its impact on character. A concentrated mind develops a strong will, while a scattered mind gives in easily to temptation, fear, and doubt. He tells stories of ordinary individuals who became leaders simply because they learned to focus their thoughts on purpose rather than on emotion. Concentration, he explains, strengthens decision-making, builds confidence, and cultivates inner stability. When a person can control their own thoughts, they gain control over their life. Gradually, Dumont guides the reader toward the emotional dimension of concentration. He explains that emotions, especially worry, fear, anger, and anxiety, break concentration more easily than anything else. He illustrates this through examples of people whose lives became chaotic because they allowed negative emotions to dominate their thoughts. But with conscious attention, one can redirect the mind away from emotional storms and toward calm intention. This ability, Dumont argues, is what separates the reactive person from the powerful person. A powerful theme in the book is the idea that concentration is not merely mental, it is also physical. Dumont often compares the mind to a muscle, one that weakens without use and strengthens with deliberate practice. He presents exercises such as sitting completely still for 5 minutes, focusing on a single object, holding one thought clearly without interruption, or walking with full awareness. While these exercises appear simple, Dumont explains that their purpose is profound. They retrain the nervous system to obey the will rather than impulse.
As the narrative develops, Dumont explores concentration as a tool for mastering time. He argues that most people waste enormous amounts of time not because they lack hours in the day, but because they lack the ability to focus deeply on what matters. He gives the example of a man who spends 8 hours at work, yet accomplishes what could have been done in 2 hours of pure concentration. The lesson is clear. Productivity is not measured in hours, but in attention. Dumont then dives into one of his strongest messages. Every great achievement begins with the concentration of thought on a single, definite purpose. A person without a clear purpose is like a ship without a captain, drifting, reacting, consuming energy but reaching nowhere. Dumont encourages readers to select a purpose and hold it firmly in the mind every day, shaping thoughts, actions, and habits around it. Concentration, he explains, gives life direction. Without direction, even the strongest effort becomes diluted. He enriches the narrative with stories of individuals who transformed their lives by concentrating on a single goal, whether mastering a craft, escaping poverty, or building a business. Dumont insists that once a person commits fully to a clear purpose, the mind begins to work in harmony, filtering out distractions and guiding decisions effortlessly toward that goal. This inner alignment is the essence of power. The book goes on to explore the relationship between concentration and health. Dumont explains that worry, scattered thoughts, and emotional upheaval drain physical vitality, weaken the nervous system, and even create disease. Concentration, however, rejuvenates the mind and body by directing energy toward constructive thoughts rather than destructive emotions. He shares examples of people who restored their health through calm mental discipline, proving that the mind influences the body far more deeply than most people realize. Another striking part of Dumont's philosophy is his exploration of magnetism, the idea that a concentrated mind projects a form of inner strength that others can feel. He describes how people who cultivate concentration walk into a room with calm confidence, speak with clarity, and influence others effortlessly. Their presence has weight. Their words carry power. Dumont explains that this magnetism does not come from charm or physical appearance, but from the quiet force of a disciplined mind. As the book progresses, Dumont discusses the importance of eliminating mental leakage. He describes how most people drain their mental energy through unnecessary worry, gossip, indecision, and dwelling on past mistakes. Concentration demands that one guards their thoughts as carefully as a banker guards gold. Only thoughts that serve one's purpose should be allowed to remain. The rest must be dismissed. Dumont provides exercises for clearing the mind, such as focusing on breathing, visualizing a calm lake, or repeating a single intention. These practices sharpen awareness and silence the mental noise that weaken willpower. In later chapters, Dumont reveals how concentration shapes creativity. He explains that original ideas do not come from a frantic mind, but from a calm one. When the mind is still, deeper insights rise to the surface. Dumont shares examples of inventors, writers, and thinkers who generated breakthrough ideas not by forcing their minds, but by calming them enough to think deeply and clearly. Concentration, he suggests, is the gateway to genius. Toward the end of the book, Dumont ties all concepts together with a final insight.
The person who learns to concentrate becomes the master of their destiny. They choose their thoughts instead of being ruled by them. They remain steady in storms that shake others. They accomplish more in a year than most accomplish in a decade. And most importantly, they grow into harmonized, confident, purposeful human beings. By the final pages, Dumont reminds the reader that concentration is not merely a mental technique. It is a way of life, a path to strength, a path to clarity, a path to becoming the person one was meant to be. And thus, our journey through the power of concentration comes to its end. But the real journey begins now, within your own mind. Dumont's message is unmistakable. The ability to control your thoughts is the foundation of every form of success, every expression of character, every achievement of purpose. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone searching for focus, strength, or direction. Sometimes a single idea, held long enough and clearly enough, becomes the turning point of an entire life. Until our next episode, stay centered, stay aware, and let your mind become the quiet engine of your greatest potential.